Hi, I'm Tracy. My screen name is Tracyarts, and I decided I was going to go ahead and do the 25 questions. I'm doing the 25 other questions because I'm way too late to the party to do the original 25 questions. I've been meaning to do a video for a long time, but I really didn't have a camera that was very good, and I just now got one, so hopefully this camera will work out good. Let me introduce myself a little. I'm Tracy. I live in the Houston area. I live just south of the city, and I'm 44 years old, and this is my cat Gizmo right behind me in his little cat tube. So hopefully he will stay asleep and not bug me while I am doing my video. So the first question, do I sleep with the sheets tucked in or out? I sleep with my sheets tucked around me. I sleep all wrapped up like a blanket burrito. I don't know when I started doing that, but I do it even when it's warm, because then I just sleep with a sheet and I'll just wrap the sheet around me. If it's cold, then I'll have a blanket. So very much tucked in. And for number 2, do I like to use Post-it notes? I don't have any use for Post-it notes nowadays. I really haven't used any. Well, actually, I lie. I take that back. I used it in a pattern book to make notes in a pattern, but I used to use Post-it notes all the time when I was a student, so that I could take notes in my books without having to use highlighters or pencil in my book, so that when I sold it back, I would get the most money for it. So yeah, there's Post-its around the house, and I use them every once in a while, and I like them. I like them a lot. Would I rather be attacked by a big bear or a swarm of bees? Well, either way, I'm going to be fucked, because I can't outrun either of them, and I can't outclimb a bear. So I'm thinking, which one would kill me quicker? Probably the bear. So I'd rather death by bear than death by bees. Do I have freckles? Not on my face. I have freckles on my shoulders and upper arms because I always go outside with tank tops on, especially in the summer. And I always have sunscreen on my face, but I rarely put sunscreen on my shoulders, so my shoulders and upper arms are very freckly from sun exposure. And never had freckles on my face, though. Let's see. Do I always smile for pictures? If I know someone's taking my picture, I will, because that's just what I was taught to do. You smile for the picture. Have I ever peed in the woods? Yep. When you go camping, you're gonna pee in the woods, and I used to go camping a lot in my 20s. So I've peed in the woods on many occasions. What size bed do I sleep in? We have a king size bed. When my husband and I got married, we had my furniture from my apartment, and there was a queen size bed, but we had to replace it probably about 15 years ago, and we went with a king size bed, and we've stayed with king size bed ever since. Do I still watch cartoons? Yes, I love cartoons. I like the animated shows that are geared towards adults. I especially like Archer. I love Bob's Burgers, South Park, Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, all those shows. I also like the animated superhero series that are geared more towards older kids and teens. I don't really like little kid cartoons very much. Every once in a while I might watch one, but for the most part I like cartoons that are geared for older kids and up. How do I take my coffee and my tea? Well, this is an example. I drink iced tea, and I like just plain iced tea, maybe some lemon, no sweetener. So I take my tea, unsweet and iced. Coffee, I'm not a big coffee drinker. Every once in a while I want some coffee. When I do, I like it with a lot of milk or cream in it and just a little bit of sugar. So I take it very light and slightly sweet. I really don't drink hot tea much. When I do, I might put a tiny bit of honey in it. So usually I only drink hot tea when I'm not feeling well anyway. So that's my coffee tea preference, either plain iced tea or light coffee. What is my least favorite movie? That's a hard one, because I don't really have one that I could say, God, I hate that movie more than any other movie, but there's some genres I don't like as much as others. I'm really not into romantic comedies. I'm really not into horror movies. I'm not really into military, crime, things like that. So those movies, I mean, I'll watch them if somebody I'm with really wants to see one. And sometimes I'll just take a gamble and say, what the heck, I'll watch it. And sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. But for the most part, romantic comedies, military movies, war movies, horror movies, those just aren't my thing. What movie or movies could I watch over and over and over and still love? There are a lot of science fiction movies that I watch over and over again. Every time I'm flipping channels on TV, if I see some of these movies, I always stop to watch. Even if I'm getting ready to head out the door and I only have a few minutes, I'll watch a few minutes. Even if I tune in and there's maybe 10 minutes left in the film, I'll watch the film, especially cheesy old 1950s and 60s sci-fi movies with the giant monsters and cheesy things like that. I'll always watch those if I see them on TV. And Stargate, I'll always watch Stargate. I'll always watch Fifth Element. There's so many sci-fi. Pretty much if it's a sci-fi movie, I'm going to watch. When was the last time I wrote a letter to somebody on paper? Right around Christmas time. I had the occasion to correspond with somebody back and forth a few times at the end of December. So that was kind of neat because I hadn't actually written a letter to somebody since I was in college, and had a friend that moved away to go to a different college. So I didn't have any stamps. I actually had to go out and get stamps, and I had to hunt down some envelopes, and I wrote the letters, and it was really neat because a couple of days later I got a letter back, and this went on for about 2 or 3 exchanges, and it was really neat to get to do that because we just don't do that in our lives anymore. Other than Christmas cards, birthday cards, things like postcards, we don't get things in the mail anymore like that, and it was nice. What is my favorite kind of sandwich? BLTs. I love BLTs. I like the classic, basic bacon, lettuce, tomato like you get at any diner. I also like a BLT that's kind of fancied up. When I make one for myself, it's bacon, lettuce, tomato, mustard, black pepper, a slice of cheese, pickles, onions, anything. I mean, if I've got baby spinach, that goes on there. If I've got sprouts, that goes on there. I like BLTs in all shapes and forms. How many languages can I speak? Fluently, just English. I took 1.5 years of Latin in high school, and then I took 2 years of French in high school, 2.5 years of French in college. But as soon as I finished that last French class, I stopped using it to converse with people, and I lost it really quickly. I can still read French, and if I have to communicate with somebody, we can communicate back and forth if we take it really slow. But in general, languages, I think, are one of those things that if you don't use it, you're going to lose it, and I definitely lost French. I can also read a little bit of Spanish and speak a tiny bit of Spanish, but that's mostly from having friends that were Spanish speakers and just picking things up from being around them. I'm not anywhere near fluent in Spanish whatsoever. I don't even know that I could carry on a conversation with somebody just to get basic concepts across. So I'm really only fluent in English. Am I afraid of heights? No, I love heights. I am one of those people that if I go to a theme park and there's one of the big Sky Needle rides, I wanted to go on that first. And the cable cars that go across the theme park, I always love to ride. The tall roller coasters, I love to ride. If we're on a trip and we have to go over a very high bridge, I love going over high bridges. There's one, I think it's called the Rainbow Bridge, and it's, I think, the highest bridge in the state, and we've had to go over that several times. I love going over that bridge. I also like if there's a skyscraper that has an observation deck, I'm there, and I would love to go to one of those buildings or structures where they have the see-through floors where you can walk out and look down. That would just be cool as fuck to me. I would not think twice about stepping out on one of those and looking down because I have no fear of heights at all. Do I sing in the car or in the shower? No, I don't sing in the shower or the bath, but if I'm driving along or riding with somebody and a really good song comes on the radio or the stereo, I'll sing along. I like to sing in the car. Do I think musicals are cheesy? Yes. Musicals can be way cheesy, and that's what makes them fun, because the cheese factor is what makes them enjoyable. I don't really know that there's such a thing as a serious musical, so when you're going into a musical, you're looking for the cheese factor when you go to a musical, and to me that's what makes it fun. What did I want to be when I was a kid? I wanted to be a scientist. I don't remember if I had a particular type of scientist I wanted to be. I just knew I wanted to be a scientist. Do I wear slippers? Yes. The house that we live in has tile floors, and I mean ceramic tile floors, and everything but the two of the bedrooms. And if I'm not in the 2 bedrooms that have carpet, I'm wearing slippers, because you wouldn't think even when it's 100 degrees outside, the tile is still cold. So I'm either wearing thick socks or slippers if I'm in the house. So I don't like walking on the tile in bare feet. It's hard and it's cold. Well, what's the first concert I ever went to? Okay. If you know anything about Houston, if you've been to Houston, lived in Houston, know people from Houston, you know that every year we have a huge rodeo, and I think it's going on right now. Yeah, I think it's ending right now. I'm not sure. I'm not into it now. But when I was a little girl, my dad loved all things country western, and from the time I was big enough that I could walk on my own and he didn't have to carry me every single place we went, he would take me every year to the rodeo. And at the end of the event, every night that they hold it, there's always a performance, and it's usually a country western singer. Not always, they have other genres of music, but it's mostly country western, keeping in the rodeo theme. And my dad was a big country western fan, so I would go with him to the rodeo, and we would always stay to watch the performer. I think probably the first one I saw, it was either Willie Nelson or Johnny Cash, and it was in the 1970s. I don't remember which one. I was a little bitty kid. The first concert I got to pick to go to on my own was Kiss, and that was 79 or 80. And so I got to see Kiss during their heyday back in the day. So, can I curl my tongue? Yep. And I didn't know that that was something that only a certain percentage of people could do. I always assumed everybody could do that, but I read in a trivia list that that's something that not every single person can do. So I'm one of the many who can. Am I patient? Oh no. Patience is not one of my virtues. Patience is actually something that I have to work very hard at. Patience is challenging to me. And I don't like anticipation. I don't like waiting. I don't like not knowing what's going to happen. Anytime there's a situation where I have to wait for something, I cannot stand it. I hate it. And I really have to be mindful and force myself to be as patient as I can. Black or green olives? Both. I haven't met an olive that I haven't liked yet. I'm sure you could fuck up an olive if you tried to like candy it or something, but I like black olives, green olives, stuffed olives, spicy olives, doesn't matter. I just like olives in general. So yeah, I like them all. I have never met a bad olive yet. Can I knit or crochet? Yes, I can do both. I learned about 5 years ago, and I learned both at the same time. And I like to alternate between different projects. I'll work on a crochet project for a while, then work on a knit project for a while, then go back and forth and back and forth. That way I can keep my skills up with both. Not particularly skilled with either. I can do all the basic stitches. I can make shapes, increases, decreases. I can make simple patterns, simple to intermediate patterns. I can do very basic sweaters, hats, things like that. But I can't really do lace. I can't do cables. I can't do anything that's very elaborate. Maybe someday I can, but I'm not there yet. And then the last question is kind of a deep, well, not a deep question, but kind of a loaded question. Who was my high school crush? I actually had two high school crushes. And one of them I'm not going to say a word about because that little circle of friends broke up on a pretty ugly note with a lot of just drama. And I don't know who's on the internet, who's on YouTube. I don't want to dredge up any old ugliness, so I'm not even going to go there. But I also had another crush on a friend. It was a guy who was a friend of mine, and we hung out a lot as friends. We lived in the same neighborhood, went to school together. And I had a huge crush on him, but he never had any interest in me other than as a friend. So we went out all the time and spent a lot of time together as friends. And I never quite knew why things didn't work out between us. And one of his friends told me one time why he wouldn't date me. And I thought it was a pretty stupid reason. It was because I was taller than him. And at the time I thought it was a stupid reason, but there's nothing I can change about my height. So I just moved on, found a boyfriend, didn't think of this guy as a crush after that, moved on, moved away to college, came back, he moved away, he got on with his life, and I guess it was 10 years after graduation we ran into each other. And I was already married, and he had been married and divorced, and he told me, he confessed to me that he wished he had asked me out while we were in high school, that he always regretted that, and he kind of hoped when he heard that I was in town, back in living in Houston, that I might be interested in meeting him, but he didn't know the person, the friend that told him I was living in Houston, again, didn't know I was married, so that kind of was a downer. And I haven't spoken to him since, but if I were to run into him, if we have like a 30-year reunion and I were to run into him, I would love to say hi and see how he was doing. So there's no hard feelings there, but you know, that was kind of a missed connection, and that's too bad. But I mean, it was high school, we were teenagers, and you know, that really isn't, you don't really think about finding the love of your life when you're a teenager. So that was that. And that right there is the end of my 25 other questions. And now that I have a camera and I kind of know how it works, I'm looking forward to doing some more of these things in the future. Bye.